Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of St. Louis. My name is Annette Peterson. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a member of the worship committee. We are glad you could join us this Sunday, either in person or online. If you are a visitor or newcomer, I'd like to extend a special welcome. If you are new to our congregation, please be sure to fill out a newcomer form found in the live stream description or in the lobby of the church. After service, please join us downstairs for a light lunch in Fellowship Hall. We welcome families with children. Families with children are invited to connect with the RE coordinator after the service for more information about our RE program. If you are attending online, you can connect with each other in the chat, and don't forget that the link for the virtual coffee hour can be found in your weekly e-news. There are several announcements this morning. This Sunday after church, today, there will be a very simple informal lunch for all who are here. This will be a chance to enjoy a simple meal together. We will compost the tableware and ask that members clean up after themselves to make this easy for everyone. There will be a free will offering for this lunch and a short survey to assess the usefulness of this idea. Beyond Earth Day, Climate Revival 2 will be here at First UU today. Sunday's planned Climate Justice Summit is being transformed into a circle conversation about how First Unitarian can engage with environmental justice work. Please stay for lunch, and after the lunch, join Reverend Kim at 12 p.m. in the Clark Room. Today, after the story for all ages, there will be no RE program. Children should return to the pews. The nursery is available for young children every Sunday. An announcement for children and youth. The next and final summer RE event will be on Sunday, August 24th. Children and youth are invited to join in some fun activities organized by the RE committee. Please center yourself in preparation for worship. Welcome to this religious community where we affirm the worth and dignity of all who enter. We gather in community, understanding we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, identity, and theology. Our values invite us to a shared journey of truth and meaning-making. Together, we foster a spirit of gratitude and generosity so that all may feel welcome and all can thrive. We are glad you are with us this morning. Please enjoy our prelude introduction from Sweet Gothic by Leon Bullman and performed by Alan Hoffman.
Good morning. I'm Pam Geppert. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm the current chair of the worship committee. Today, we welcome Rabbi Daniel Bogard as our guest speaker. Rabbi Daniel is one of the founders of Camp Indigo Point, a camp for trans, gender-expansive, and LGBTQ+ kids. His talk is entitled, From Jeff City to Camp Indigo Point, the sacred work of protecting trans children. Today, we will also explore themes of transformation. Transformation, as expressed in the UUA bylaws, expresses the way we adapt to our changing world. We covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. Openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian and Universalist beliefs, never complete and never perfect. So with the words of Norman V. Naylor, do not leave your cares at the door. Do not leave there your pain, your sorrow, or your joys. Bring them with you into this place of acceptance and forgiveness. Place them on the common altar of life and offer them to the possibility of your worship. Come then and offer yourself to potential transformation by the creative process that flows through you and all life. Amen. Now, please rise as you are willing and able, and join us in our opening hymn, number 131, Love Will Guide Us.
Our chalice lighting is by Jamie Yandel. We light this chalice to ignite the divine spark of the universe, whose pronouns have always been plural. A co-creation of brilliance and diversity, a tapestry of souls perfected.
Where did I put my book? No. Is the book up in there? Okay. Okay. So anyone who would like to move up to the front for the story is welcome to do so. As I look around, I don't see any young children, but I see a lot of people that are young at heart. And so if you'd like to be up front, you can do so. Oh, look, we found it. I keep... You know, as I had said earlier in the call to worship, that we're focusing a bit on transformation. And when we're talking with younger children, we often use metaphors of things like the very hungry caterpillar might be one, where the caterpillar becomes the butterfly. Or we talk about the seed that becomes a plant, or grows acorn that grows into a tree. So all of those types of things are I'll have to hold it up. And if you're sitting up in the front, you can get a better look at the pictures. All right? Okay. All right. The story is called The Bad Seed. You may remember this author. It's written by Jory John, and the illustrations are by Pete Oswald. I think a couple of years ago, we did The Good Egg, which is also by him, and they are hilarious, but they're also very meaningful, the stories. So this is The Bad Seed by Jory John, illustrated by Pete Oswald. I am a bad seed. A bad seed. Oh, yeah, it's true. The other seeds, they look at me and they say, that seed is so bad. When they listening, they mumble, there goes a bad seed. But I can hear them. I have good hearing for a seed. How bad am I? You really want to know? Well, I never put things back where they belong. I'm late to everything. I tell long jokes with no punchline. I never wash my hands or my feet. I lie about pointless stuff. I cut in line every time. I stare at everybody. I glare at everybody. I finish everybody's sentences, and I never listen. And I do lots of other bad things too. Know why? Because I'm a bad seed. I'm a bad seed. I just can't help it. Sure, I wasn't always this bad. I was born a humble seed on a simple sunflower in an unremarkable field. I had a big family, seeds everywhere. We found ways of having fun. We were close. But then the petals dropped, and our flower drooped. It's kind of a blur. I remember a bag. Everything went dark. And then a giant. I thought I was a goner. I thought I was done for. I screamed and hollered. But I was spit out at the last second. I flew through the air, and I landed under the bleachers with a huge thud. Thud. Okay. When I woke up, it was dark outside. A wad of gum had softened my fall. I felt okay, but something had changed in me. I'd become a different seed entirely. I'd become a bad seed. A bad seed. That's right. I stopped smiling. I kept to myself. I drifted. I was friend to nobody and bad to everybody. I was lost on purpose. I lived inside a soda can. I didn't care. And it suited me. Until recently. I made a big decision. I've decided I don't want to be a bad seed anymore. I'm ready to be happy. It's hard to be good when you're so used to being bad. But I'm trying. I'm taking it one day at a time. Sure, I still forget to listen. And I still show up late. And I still talk during movies, and I do all kinds of other bad stuff. But I also say thank you, and I say please, and I smile. And I hold doors open for people. I mean, not always, but sometimes. And even though I still feel bad sometimes, I also feel kind of good. It's sort of a mix. All I can do is keep trying and keep thinking. Maybe I'm not such a bad seed after all. Hey, look, there goes that bad seed. Well, actually, he's not all that bad anymore. I heard that. We change because of our environment. We transform to the world around us. The way that society sees us doesn't have to be the same as how we see ourselves. And there's always room for change, and there's always time for change. Thank you. Okay.
This morning, we are lighting candles for the victims of the latest mass shootings. We hold the community of New York City in healing light after the shooting at 345 Park Avenue. 4 people were killed and another injured in the attack. On August 1st, there was another mass shooting, this time in Anaconda, Montana. 4 people were killed at a local bar. As we read the names of the victims, we'll light 4 candles, plus 1 more for the shooter. Officer Didarul Islam, Wesley LePatner, Julia Hyman, Aland Etienne. We now light 4 candles for the Montana victims. The names have not been released. We hold the people of the town and surrounding area in our hearts as law enforcement searches for the shooter.
Each week, we bring our joys and celebrations, sorrows and concerns with us to this community. When we share our burdens, both happy and sad, we build community. Now is the time in our service where we connect with one another by sharing our sorrows and our concerns. The online doesn't have anything listed, but now is the time in our service when we do that. Oh, I'm sorry, here's one. New member Jen Whitaker's recent back surgery went well, and she's home to begin the long process of recovery. And member Karen Segrist is in Barnes Rehab for maybe about 2 weeks now, and she's recovering nicely too she is out of the ICU, so that's a good thing too. Sometimes joys and concerns are kind of all mixed together, aren't they? We hold these concerns, both spoken and unspoken, with tenderness and compassion. May they be lighter because they are shared. And as a community, we also share our joys and celebrations with one another. Happy birthday to Paula Hansen, she's still in Denver, who celebrated the day with her family in Colorado. Okay. We lift up these joys, both spoken and unspoken, with gladness and celebration. May they be magnified because they are shared. With many joys and concerns remaining unspoken in our hearts and minds, Please join me in a spirit of prayer and mindful attention with these words from the Reverend Lynn Cox. Spirit of life, ever adapting and renewing, we come together this morning with yearnings that do not match. We yearn for stability, for even one moment of feeling like we know what's going on. Yet we also yearn for change. Hold us in the heart of both and cradle us in the mystery. So be it, blessed be. Amen.
Unitarian Church of St. Louis strives to be a welcoming congregation, inspiring lives of loving kindness and integrity by nurturing spirituality, building community, and advancing justice. Your contributions support the mission and ministry of this congregation in the St. Louis region and beyond. This morning's offering will now be received.
Now, today's offertory music depends on you, okay? It is a song written by Adam Holtzel. It's a song about belonging, about finding your family, about finding yourself. Now, the choir sang this last October when Ro Kelly was here for her service. The first verse uses the pronoun I. And I'll be singing it from here, but feel free to join in with me if you all, the choir people already have sung it at least once, and so they may know it pretty well. The second verse uses the pronoun you, inviting others to be part of this. The third verse uses the pronoun we, affirming the worth and dignity of everyone making their path through our changing world. Alan, let's go ahead and start. I belong to this body, I belong to this earth. I belong, I belong, I belong. With all of my dignity, all of my worth, I belong, I belong, I belong. I belong to this family, to this tree of life. I belong, I belong, I belong. but thank you for your gifts today. Today, I'd like to thank all of those who have been part of bringing this service here this morning. Those who bring their words, those who bring their music, those who send out notices, those who clean, those who adorn the space, those who greet, who usher, who transmit it all from the chaos closet, who print the order of service, who ready fellowship hall, those who set up candles and bring water, who share their joys and their concerns, who listen, who laugh, who think, who strengthen their resolve, and who change and transform with our ever-changing world.
This reading is taken from the June 20th, 2025 UU World magazine, written by senior editor Elaine McCardle. The Unitarian Universalist Association has condemned the U.S. Supreme Court's Wednesday decision in the U.S. versus Scrimeti, which allows states to ban access to gender-affirming care for trans youth. The decision came as thousands of UUs gathered in person in Baltimore, Maryland, and online for this year's UU General Assembly. Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt, the UU's president, stated, "The Supreme Court's decision today will irreparably harm transgender youth by allowing states to deny them the kind of care they need for their physical and mental well-being. As a part of our faith tradition, Unitarian Universalists embrace transgender, non-binary, intersex, and gender-diverse people. This is a central expression of our faith. We also believe that denying health care to the trans community is a moral violation. We send our love and care to all the trans youth and their families who are directly affected by this ruling. We will keep fighting for you. We will continue to work with and on behalf of the trans and non-binary community to ensure that their dignity as human beings and rights are protected across this country. Rabbi Daniel is a child of Central Reform congregation, and as such was raised with a strong commitment to social justice. As a rabbi, Daniel has come home to continue the work he is driven to do. He serves on the board of directors for Interfaith Coalition of Latin America in order to advocate for undocumented individuals in St. Louis. He has also worked with the Fight for 15, an effort to make the minimum wage a living wage in the state of Missouri. He is one of the proud founders of Camp Indigo Point, a week-long sleep-away camp for trans, gender-expansive, and LGBTQ+ youth. Welcome, Rabbi Daniel.
Good morning, everyone. It is such an honor to be here. I grew up in this building. My brother had his bar mitzvah right here. And every time I walk downstairs, I kind of just want to run circles around the little library section all over again. So I want to take you back to 2019. It was weeks before the world was about to shut down and we had no idea what was coming. I had twin 6-year-olds and an 8-year-old, all of whom were thriving. I was a part of a gender equity conference in New York for Jewish leaders across the denominational spectrum, and I was sitting in this room being introduced to a book called A Rainbow Thread, 2,000 Years of Queer Jewish Texts. We were reading a letter to the editor that's taken from this book that I'm going to share with you in just a moment, and I was just losing it in this room. So first, I'll tell you about this letter to the editor. It was the 1930s. It was right around the time of what would come to be called the Nazi Olympics. And there was this whole phenomenon that had happened that we probably don't know about, where athletes were going off to compete in the women's games and coming back as men. Has anyone heard this story before? We don't hear it because we don't teach queer history, which makes it seem like being queer is new in every generation, right? But it was an uproar. It was all throughout the press, the international press, the local press, and of course it was also in the Jewish press. And so an old man in his 80s, a refugee from Eastern Europe who was living in Brooklyn, a refugee from what we now call Ukraine, he wrote a letter to the editor to the Jewish Daily Forward in Yiddish. It was a Yiddish language newspaper at the time. And in this letter, he said, "You crazy people," remember this is the 1930s, "you crazy people who think this whole trans thing is new, let me tell you a story from my shtetl." He proceeds to tell a story from the 1800s, the 1880s. He tells the story of someone who was born and treated as a woman. He speaks of the ways that this person never quite fit in and never quite felt comfortable in themselves. And this person's father went to the great rabbis and said, "What can we do? What can we do, Rabbi?" And the rabbis said, "Just have faith." And finally they went to a doctor, and all of a sudden, this person who had grown up in this shtetl as a woman came back across the bridge that led to the shtetl as a man. And this letter writer, again in the 1930s, says that he still remembered as a little kid watching this person cross across and make their way into the community, that the whole community gathered to greet. And this is a line I remember well. Our letter writer says, "And our whole community gathered to greet her, or I should say him." If they can get the pronouns right in the 30s, like we can do better today, right? Or in the 1800s. This man, this trans man, was wildly accepted into the shtetl. At a time when women weren't even counted in a prayer quorum, this man, Beryl Bela was his name, was taught to lead the prayers in the synagogue. He was married off, we're told, to Rachel with the black hair, not to be confused with Rachel with the red hair. And the letter writer ends by saying he always had the name of a good, upstanding Jew in our shtetl. So I was introduced to this in 2019 at this gender equity conference, and at the time I was pretty sure that I had a genderqueer 6-year-old. This was a kid who from the very first moment that he could express anything was expressing that he wanted boy stuff. We tried not to be super gendering in our house anyways, but whereas his twin was always going for purple and pinks and rainbows and unicorns, he always wanted monster trucks. He was always stealing his older brother's clothes. He had begged for years for a short boy's haircut. And in retrospect, we see that we were processing our own transphobia. Oh my God, he had the most beautiful long hair, by the way. All of our kids did. We didn't cut their hair until they were 3. It's a Jewish tradition. And so we cut his hair to here. And he said, no, I want a short boy's haircut. And we cut his hair to here. He said, I want a short boy's haircut. And so finally we gave him a short boy's haircut. So I was sitting there in New York at this gender equity conference, having been introduced to the story of Beryl Bela, and there are 35 other rabbis, Orthodox, Reform, all across the spectrum sitting around this table, and I am bawling my eyes out. No one else in the room is having an emotional reaction. And finally, the facilitator turns to me and says, I hate to put you on the spot, but why are you crying? And I looked back at him and I said, my child has ancestors. It's sacred to have ancestors. So I came back to St. Louis, and that's when he got his short boy's haircut. And he said, I'm a boy. And I can't tell you how easy it has been to be the parent of this child. How easy it is to be the parent of a trans kid. Except for the fact that the first thing that you learn when you love a trans kid and you live in a red state is that your government is at war with you. So the first time I said out loud that my kid was trans, before I had said it with my wife, before I had said it to his grandparents — he has 4 amazing, accepting, loving, fierce, protective grandparents, and 2, one of whom is a blessed memory, amazing, fierce, protective great-grandparents. So don't think generation or age has to do anything with this. The first people I told that he was trans was the General Laws Committee of the Missouri General Assembly. I have been down dozens of times to testify in that place that we have come to call Pharaoh's Palace. I have sat and listened while sitting senators ask 12-year-olds what their genitals look like. I have been in rooms with legislators who ask my kid if they should take him away from me to protect him from us. I have seen the ways that Christian nationalism is the most powerful force in our state and in our politics. It has broken me. There are places that scars are beginning to form, but it has broken me. I find hope very, very hard in life. But if you know anything about trans kids, you know a statistic that sounds something like 2/3 of them will think about suicide before they are 25, and almost half of them will try. Now, what I'm about to say is the most depressing statistic I know. There is one thing that takes the suicidality rate of trans kids and brings it down to almost the same rate as kids who are cis, kids who are not trans, and that is a single loving, accepting adult in their life. That is the most depressing statistic I know, because think about what that means about the percentage of kids who don't have a single loving, protective adult in their lives. That is what is so pernicious and so evil about the war that our government is waging against kids like my kid, is that it is designed to drive out hope. It is designed to silence the middle school teacher who stands up and affirms kids. It is designed to enable a world where the biggest bullies in our kids' lives are their teachers and politicians. Now, I was down in Jeff City one day, endless days in Jeff City, and I was sitting there with a close childhood friend, Shira Berkowitz, who's an organizer for Promo, the LGBTQ advocacy organization down in Jeff City. And Shira and I are close friends from Jewish camp as kids. So Shira, well, first let me tell you about Jewish camp if you don't know it. It's different than scouting camps or church camps, or because the whole idea of Jewish camping is to take kids who often are the only Jewish kid or one of only a handful of Jewish kids in their classrooms, in their worlds, and bring them to a place where what is normally different about them is so normalized that it becomes a part of the background. So Shira and I both grew up at Jewish camps together, and we turned to each other one day and said, what if we did a camp for trans kids? Same idea. Right? If one affirming, loving adult can change a kid's life, imagine what a week or 2 weeks of being in an environment like that can do to a human being. So we thought that first year, this was 4.5 years ago now, we thought that first year that maybe if we were lucky, we would get 20 kids from around St. Louis, right? Like, who is going to send their kids to us? In fact, we were going to include siblings just so we had enough kids to have a critical mass. We had to drive to the campsite that we rented out to count the beds because we had to cut off registration at 97 kids because that was all we could fit. We came back the next year at a new location, and this is now, we just completed our 4th summer. We have 150 kids, every bed that we can fit, 2nd through 9th grades, who make their way to our tiny little camp over in Illinois from 33 different states. We have a kid who gets on a little, I don't even know what you call the tiny little planes in the bush in Alaska that take you to the medium-sized town in Alaska that flies you to Juneau to get on a flight to Seattle, to fly to make their way to St. Louis, to schlep to our little camp in southern Illinois. Because the truth of it is, we are saving lives with campfires, with arts and crafts, with archery, with marshmallows, and with radical intergenerational queer community. We are a place that gives these kids ancestors and gives them hope. When I send my kid to camp, he's not just surrounded in a bunk of other 6th grade boys who are like him. His heroes, his counselors, the 20-somethings who are introducing him to cool music, they're like him too. And he looks over and he looks at the director, my friend Shira Berkowitz, and he sees a 40-something queer person and knows what it looks like to be a thriving, successful, joy-filled 40-year-old trans person. They scrape their knees or they get sick and they go to the nurse where they have a 70-year-old chain-smoking lesbian nurse. I don't know what it is, by the way. We have had in a row 3 different 70-year-old chain-smoking lesbian nurses. It's a genre. Shira was checking out at REI. They were just buying themselves something, and handed their credit card to the checkout woman. The checkout woman took their credit card and started crying and handed the credit card back to Shira and said, I know you. You're with that camp. My child is alive because of your camp. The flood of emails that we get from people who say things like, I sent you a kid who existed in black and white, who never left their room, who had no friends in their life and no hope. And 2 weeks later, you sent me back a kid who lives in color. We get emails in the winter from parents who say, my kid had no friends before camp, and now not only do they have their camp friends that they talk with constantly, but they have friends at school for the first time in their lives. Because it turns out we all need ancestors. Because it turns out we all need hope. Because it turns out that actually The only hard part, the only bad part about being a trans person is the cruelty of non-trans people. That's it. That's it. I really believe, no matter what I do the rest of my life, that being a part of this camp, of creating it, of enabling it, will be the most transformative thing I have ever done. We have two core values. The first is that every single staff person, and let's say 98% in reality, but every single staff person has to be queer themselves, because we're giving these kids ancestors. That's why I don't work at camp, by the way. I serve on the board, I raise money for scholarships, but I don't work at camp. And the second value that we hold, above all else, is that the kid who can afford camp the least is probably the kid who needs camp the most. So that's my role at camp these days, is I have just made a blanket promise that we can give whatever scholarships we need to give to these kids to get them there. And there are kids whose families pay $20, and then we buy them a plane ticket from Alaska, and they come to camp. We raise money, and it just kind of flows in like Field of Dreams. Because once you get it, you get it. You see that we are one of the very best ways to invest in hope. We are one of the very best ways to save lives. And so I have so much gratitude for this community here, which has supported camp for so long, and for all of the other communities around who have made camp possible. Watch out for our 5th year gala. We do galas, not galas, at Camp Indigo Point. And just thank you for having me here today, and thank you for doing the work of saving lives by affirming just the human dignity in every queer kid. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy. I don't know how much time we have, but I'm happy to answer anything.
We have as much time as you need.
That's a dangerous thing to say to a...
I have dangerous ideas, if anyone from a few weeks ago.
Really, you can ask anything at all. Yeah, please.
Of course, there are people that are opposed what you're doing.
Yes.
What do they do, and what do you do?
Yeah. Look, one of the realities of having a camp like this is that there are huge security concerns. We are not a Jewish camp. It's actually the most common question we get is, oh, you're a Jewish camp. No, we are not a Jewish camp. But the Jewish community of St. Louis has a full-time security coordinator who volunteers his time to coordinate the security for our camp as well. For 2 weeks of camp, we spend about $25,000 on security to keep these kiddos safe. And we have all sorts of other ways of doing it. There's this whole balance that we have between how and when we publicize, because we need to publicize in order to raise money for scholarships. We have to raise about $130,000 a year to pay for the scholarships we give out right now. We don't need to advertise, it turns out, for kids or for counselors. That just happens. But scholarships we do. So basically what we've ended up doing is we have a blackout for about 2 months before camp where we don't talk about it, we don't advertise it. And then once camp is over, we go crazy with advertising or talking about it. We have not done as much press in the last year. Part of this is that press is scared to even talk about us now, right? It felt like we were a part of a side that inevitably was going to win 3 years ago, and now it is clear that not only are we losing, but in profound ways we've lost, right? We are an oasis today of the way that the world should be, not, unfortunately, the way the world is becoming. And so we used to do, we were on, our first year we were on Good Morning America and the New York Times and Washington Post and all of these sorts of things. I will say one of the reasons the press is less interested in us today is because 4 years ago, we were remarkable, and today there are dozens of camps like us all over the country, and yet again, we still have way more kids who want to come to camp than we have room for. So the demand is still deeply unmet. Other questions? Yeah?
How is your child's gender issue resolved?
Oh, my kid's a thriving, happy 6th grade boy. He's like the most well-adjusted person in my family. It's kind of a low bar. He's got 2 clergy member parents, so, he's popular. He's got endless friends. He's sleeping out. He's the best player on his boys' soccer team. We just got back from 4 weeks at a Jewish sleepaway camp where he spends, a month in a boys' cabin, and it's uneventful other than regular camp trouble. Yeah. So I'm just going to repeat the question of do we plan on expanding to other camps? So actually right now, for the very first time, like literally right now, it's starting today, we have a week-long travel camp in Colorado that we're doing for high school kids. So that's happening for the very first time. And then initially we had thoughts of having Camp Indigo Point all over, different locations, but the truth of it is that the market is out there now. And other camps are filling this need. And so we really have honed in, and we are a Midwestern camp. But again, we still get kids from 33 states, which is wild. But you'll find camps like ours all over. We are a little more distinctive in that we are committed to every staff member being queer themselves. Often there's a lot of allies involved. Actually, the sort of niche that I've started doing a little work in is there are a whole bunch of people in the Jewish community who want a Jewish trans camp as well. So we're working on that. The significance of the name of Camp Indigo Point. Yes, we wanted a name that at least a little bit to people within the community signaled that this was likely a queer place, but that wasn't, Camp Rainbow Trans or something. And the original location that we were at was a place called Cedar Point. So we took the point from that in Indigo. But it turns out now there's a Camp Indigo. Also, there's like 3 Camp Indigos who are all queer camps as well. But we are campindigopoint.org. I should also say we are fiscally sponsored. We have a scholarship organization that's fiscally sponsored at ASHRAE, which is a sort of social justice. It came out of CRC. It's not a religious organization at all, but it came out of CRC. And we have a scholarship fund there, and that's where we are fiscally sponsored. Yeah.
So, how has this congregation supported the camp, and what additional support might you provide? And you might want to repeat the question.
Yeah.
Oh, Mo, can you turn on the?
Come on up. It's amazing.
Hi, I'm Sue Ashwell. I've belonged to this congregation since 1968, and I'm also president of a foundation that started back in the 1850s, I think, called Mission Free School. We also do business as St. Louis Unitarian Foundation for Children, and we support probably 15 different children's organizations. And Indigo Point is one of them. Reverend Kim brought them to us as a new possibility to support, and we've, ever since not ever since you began, but maybe the second year.
Starting year two.
Yeah, the second year, we've supported them.
Actually, I think you retroactively helped us pay for scholarships in year one also.
I think we did. I think we did. So, you know, I'd be happy to talk to you. There's other members. You guys want to stand up? There's other members here of our foundation. Stand up a minute. Just stand up, because we're kind of a kind of a quiet group, but on behalf of the Unitarian churches in the area, and all of our members are part of this church. So thank you for being here. And I visited camp this summer also. I will say, kids were so friendly, so happy. The staff were so happy, and just the vibe was wonderful. So it's well worth supporting. So, and if you want to give donations to the Osprey Foundation, that's great. Or if you want to support other children's foundation, other children's agencies in our church annual report, the very last report usually is St. Louis Unitarian Foundation for Children. So thank you.
So my hesitancy, thank you for responding. My hesitancy in responding there was that the foundation has asked repeatedly to keep the donation quiet. So since it's now public, at least in this space, there are kids alive today because of the support of this community and this foundation. I know it, I see it, I believe it. This community and this foundation, we wouldn't be here as a camp without you all. You have been our most important fiscal sponsor from the very first moments. And more than that, you've given us faith. When it feels like it's too hard, your support has meant, I'm gonna cry if I keep talking about this. I'm sort of crying now. With the fullness of my heart, thank you. Bless you. I was told no more, but go for it. Yeah, I'll come hang out downstairs. You'll find me running around the books. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Rabbi Bogard. And yes, we'll be downstairs, and hopefully we'll also have a chance to connect and talk about a lot of things after we're finished with this. Our closing hymn is number 121, We'll Build a Land. And please join us as you are willing and able in singing verses 1 and 2. Coincidentally, from sunset August 2nd to sunset August 3rd is the Jewish day of mourning called Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av is observed on the 9th, Tisha, of the Hebrew month of Ab, is a day of mourning the destruction of both ancient temples in Jerusalem. During this time, observations also often center around social justice issues. My closing words are a blessing by Herbert J. Levine. Jerusalem that was destroyed is rebuilt, a city of two peoples, if not more. We say, renew our days as of old, though we know we can't. We mark a few days in our calendar so as not to forget. But what woman would give birth a second time if not for forgetting the pangs of the first? May our people be blessed in giving birth to new days. Please stay for the postlude, and then as your final act of worship, turn and greet your neighbor. And Alan will do that.